Welcome back to the show. We spent a lot of time on Inside the Ropes talking about One Golf, which for a lot of people out there is a concept rather than a reality. But for you two in particular, Joe and Hazy, it's very much part of what you've been gearing towards and building towards and hoping for quite some time. And it's taking some fairly significant strides forward in recent times.
Yeah, you're spot on. It's super positive for the game. In that finally we can reach a point where we can strategically line from top down across the entire nation. We can resource ourselves appropriately, which might see in terms of tangibly in terms of scheduling of events. That sort of thing falls into motion a little bit more at ease. From a commercial point of view, there's so much growth in maximising our revenue streams, but it's really, really positive. But the main aim is really to get all the good people under the one roof and start achieving some great things together.
Sounds about right to me, Hazy. Sounds pretty good.
It's logic, Andy. To have everyone pushing in one direction, finally, or almost everyone. It's just a huge boon for Australian golf, what it could be.
Well, somebody who takes a great deal of interest in the way sports are governed is Kate Palmer, who's the CEO of Sport Australia. She's been good enough to join us on our little podcast here, Inside the Ropes. Kate, delightful to have you in the studio. Thanks so much for giving us some of your time.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. And in actual fact, to talk about this wonderful topic, it's very exciting for me as well. And can I say, first of all, congratulations, because I think you are the first. You know, the first large sport in this country to take a position like this is extraordinary. And congratulations to all of the sport from the state level to the national level. I think it's quite extraordinary.
I'm pretty chuffed with that.
Yeah. Well, there's a few things that you're doing at Golf Australia that are asking others to be mindful of and follow, I reckon, with the 2025 paper that was released about 6 months ago. And I know you launched Change Our Game about a year ago. You were one of the people, Kate, who was quite happy to stand there and suggest that this is something that the rest of Australian sport should take note of. So it's underlining a pretty progressive attitude, which I think is reflected from a governance perspective in so many elements to do with One Golf.
Definitely. And look, also our Minister Mackenzie, launched Sport 2030 just recently and called out in that document the need for improved governance of sport in this country. And certainly our Chair, John Wiley, and the Australian Sports Commission Board in those days had a major push in this area. So to see so much progress and to I guess, pave the way for other sports, because one of the challenges for us is for sports to believe it's possible, and because it's the federated structure is so problematic about how decisions are made. It slows things down, and I think this is the challenge for you now, is to actually put your foot down really and make sure that you move forward really quickly.
And I think that's the key. Like, we've been probably we have been slow to adapt and maybe not willing to take that risk. But here's our moment where, rather than having separate employees, separate boards governing the state associations and and the national association, we can actually properly align, and that decision-making process can be so much quicker and much more streamlined with priorities such as women's and girls, with the Vision 2025. So I'm really, really excited about it. It's going to take some time to mould in, but we're here at day 2 and it's going to be very, very positive.
Well, it's been a long road too. I think that's the other thing that I know this has been a really 3 to 4 year journey for you, and the way you've done it, and we're certainly preparing for a new governance program to be launched early next year. And I was talking to the head of our governance team today, and I said, tell me about golf and what's been key to their success. And I think how you've brought your stakeholders on the journey with you, because I know it wouldn't have been easy. So making sure that it was really coming from top down but bottom up as well, so that your states have been driving this. So, good on them. Look, I don't think I have not seen that. There's one other sport that I think is pushing from the bottom up, which is hockey, and they may be on the journey as well. But they'll look to you, I suspect, and say, okay, now tell us what are the 2 or 3 things that you felt were the moments where it could have gone ahead or are not happened at all.
So this can be perceived by many, including a lot, no doubt, who are listening, Kate, as being a very dry topic.
No, it's very exciting. It's extraordinary.
I agree with you, but I'm sure that's a sentiment out, in Golfland where people are listening right now.
Yeah.
But there's the fact that golf's got off its backside collectively and moved in this direction, it really opens up a lot of things that, by being the first, give us a really, as you say, a tangible sort of opportunity to sort of kick a few goals here while there are other sports are dilly-dallying around the edges.
Well, certainly, we're looking for good partners, and we would see this as a sign of a partner, a sport that we can partner with to deliver. But your members will be looking, and participants will be saying, what does this mean for me? And I think you've raised a few of these things. I know your the strategy around women into golf is just, fabulous, and I think that opportunity for participants, we all of us, me included, we want to be welcome and included in golf, and I think these are the sorts of things that when people say, what does one golf mean? Well, it's about means that golf is for everyone. That we actually collective. We're a sport that can work together. There'll still be politics, but we're actually going to work through that because we're working together. And I think that makes a big difference to the way people feel about the sport they're involved in, and that you feel proud of the fact that you can actually join a sport that's progressive and innovative and ready to make change.
Kate, when you say that this is a sport that you'd be prepared and happy to partner, what does the support of Sport Australia actually mean in a situation like this?
Look, well, we're the major investor in sport in this country, and if we're looking for innovation, so we're looking for program ideas and examples that could create systemic change. So this is a good example of that. So I can tell you will be talked about a lot over the coming 3 years in this new program about how did golf do it? So how do we create systemic change? And then what are the programs? As a result, what's been the shift in your revenue? And could we help partner you in programs that generate more revenue, that launch new programs, that actually create an example that could be systemic across sport, across the industry. So it's it could strengthen the industry.
And matters like gender equality, engagement with broader communities, expanding the reach of the game, all the things that we spend a lot of time talking about on this podcast. And going to what Hazy was saying before, Kate, there might be some blokes out there who are listening to our show, driving to their golf club on a Saturday morning. They park their car they play with the same three blokes every Saturday. They've got their plate, they've got their table in the clubhouse. That's all they care. They don't really care about any of the other stuff, but it's all those other elements that your organisation is looking to embrace. Is that
absolutely? And look, we've just launched a grants program for older Australians, so it's better ageing. Now, that's golf is a prime example of a sport that you can play for your whole life. That's the type of thing we would be looking for. Who are the organisations that can, top to bottom, deliver a program that has reach? That's a good example of a program that we would look at golf and say, well, here's an organisation that has got their act together.
So you talk to chief executives of the various sporting bodies and countless other people, I'm sure, at the top end of town. That's your role.
Yes.
What would you say to someone listening to this who's at the bottom end? Like, how do they get in touch with Sport Australia, and how do they, have their opinions and thoughts heard and feel like they matter?
Well, look, that's quite simple. I mean, we're quite open to that. I mean, it's something that I do every day of my life. But I think the challenge for me around state bodies, I worked at a state body level as well, and I was always of the view that working with the national body and being totally aligned with the national body would mean that I would be at front of the queue. So if I was, for me, a state body that doesn't want to work with their national body it's not a great thing. And we when I was the CEO of Netball Victoria, we had a great relationship with Netball Australia, and I suspect the states that have come on board with this one golf model will actually benefit enormously from the partnership and relationship you had, because you can add value. 1 + 1 does equal 3. It's just a reality of it. Now, so I think I would encourage any state entity, because you put yourself in their shoes. They're worried about losing their power and influence. They don't need to worry, because actually, none of us own sport. You don't own golf. No one owns golf. Anyone in this country can play the game, and I think that's once we get over the fact that we don't own sport, that the participants do, and we put the participant central to what we do. You think about the customer, not whether I'm a body that has enough power to do certain things. So I think, changing the mindset around how sport works, and I think this is where you're going to go on a bit of a journey on that too, but I would encourage any state board to look at this model, and I can tell you we will be singing it from the rooftops on a regular basis, but we'll be looking for the results. So we want you to be successful. So as much support as we can give you to be successful. I actually think you're pretty good on your own, to be honest with you, but we certainly would like to support you.
Sometimes it feels like from within we're not moving very, very fast, but it's very encouraging to me to hear Kate speak that the words that that we are actually evolving in some ways more rapidly than others. It's encouraging, I think, and this is a real opportunity because we're so stayed in the people's perception that it's great to hear Kate from an outsider's perspective say that we're actually kicking a few goals here and making a difference, because I think that's what a lot of people would like in their career or their pastimes or whatever, to feel like they're making a difference. So nothing to do with me personally or you, Joe, yourself, but the whole industry finally seems like we're heading in the right direction. And I can't wait for New South Wales and Western Australia to come on board, just so that we can be a fully national body, and that's that's the next step.
Can you be as effective as you want to be without those two coming on board?
I suppose you'd have to say no, we won't be fully effective without them, and that's the positive, and that's the place we want to get to in time. So yes, we probably won't be as fully as efficient as possible, but we're definitely going to be more efficient than we are currently now. But I think it's just, from my point of view, it's so important in a time of great technological, innovative change, where we need more collaboration, we need more cooperation across the board, and it's great that golf are finally singing that song together. And I'm really interested to know, do you see that other sports will catch on to it quickly, or do you think it's going to take maybe some time?
Well, in January we're launching a new program which will be about encouraging sports to do this in a way of investment in all of the platforms that would move them together more quickly. So, it's easier if you're working together to put in a digital platform. It's one financial model, about governance, one strategy. Imagine being on the same page. And it doesn't mean you do the same things, but I think it will happen reasonably quickly. It's tough though. So you must have been really resilient, because I think what happens is you tend to move forward. You probably took a few steps forward and then you move back again. And I think that's why it's such a good model to follow, because you've made it. And so now it'd be good in the next 12 months if you could deliver some good, strong results, get some benchmarks now so that we can actually measure how far you go. So it's a tough thing to do. I wouldn't underestimate, because others have tried before and failed. But we're really committed to this. We see the future of sport. Sport in this country does not have the resources, apart from what I call the big boys, the big commercial sports. They are generating millions and millions of dollars. Other than that, I don't think sports in this country are resourced to have the impact that if they really are serious about the future of their game, and you obviously are. You can't afford to do it. You cannot have 9 separate legal entities doing similar things, slowing decision making. I guess the politics of that, and I just think it's as I said, it's quite remarkable what you have achieved, because it will make a massive difference to the future of your game.
It always strikes me that people who stand in the way of this sort of progress are generally doing it from a negative standpoint. Yeah. It's fear or greed. It's generally people wanting to hang on to something that and you sort of touched on this earlier, something that they deem to be theirs. And the point you made before, Kate, about, golf, it doesn't belong to anybody.
No.
Golf belongs to everybody. And once you can convince people, I suspect, and I wonder whether, your organisation has a role to play in this, once you convince people who are a bit reluctant to let go that this is for the greater good, then you can get past whatever the negative sort of blockages that are there.
Look, I said, I think it will need an enormous amount of support to move support from us to move other sports forward. There's a real willingness, of course, from the national body because they can see that big picture. But when you're in a separate market, it's a little bit more problematic. But I'm not a member of Golf Australia, but I play golf. So there's thousands and thousands of people like me out there. I don't belong to the state body here, but I belong to golf. And so I think that we've got to put past the separate entities that think that I think they're really critical though, obviously, for delivery at the local level. You need to understand your market. You need to have, representation. One Golf will need to understand what's happening in each state and territory so that they can actually make good decisions. So it certainly doesn't take away that different market jurisdictional responsibility. So, I just think it's the future of sport in this country, and it'd be great to wave a wand and make it happen really quickly because as an industry, if we're going to be if we're serious about being in industry, we contribute $83 billion a year to the Australian economy, but we're dismissed very easily as an industry until we actually have more influence and are really clear about where we're going. So this, for me, is bigger picture than just one sport. This is about a shift to the industry. And
that's awesome.
And I think if you're contributing to that and leading the way, then good on you.
So, Kate, we almost by default are exposed to so much American television and influence in our lives, and in a sporting sense, we watch, the WNBA or the NBA and then compare it to the WNBL and the NBL, and golf is the same in that respect. Is that frustrating to what you just said? We are a small pool here. We're not we're not the Pacific Ocean in terms of our economies of scale or our population or anything like that. Is it frustrating for us or for everyone to be compared to a big fish like the American sports market or the FIFA soccer or whatever it is that we can never realistically claim to get to that level?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why we need to look at how we're governed, because if we're going to compete internationally, it needs. If I'm a young golfer, I want to know, how do I get to the top? I might want to stop and just be a social golfer, and that's fine as well. But if we're going to compete internationally, and Australia wants to compete, and we should be able to, we've got world class people involved in all of our sports. So I actually think we need to look outside our own backyard, and the reality is the structures in Australia, the governance structure. If we could start again, we would be very, very different. We can't start again, so how can we actually improve the model? And so, I don't see any reason why, we know, golf's been produced world champions, the best in the world. So I think, obviously we can do it as a country, but it needs to change. Question
without notice, what would your thoughts be on the Golf Australia model, whatever it becomes now, and the professional bodies, the ALPG and the PGA coming together down the track somewhere?
Look, I think if it means that the entities are working together and adding value to each other, then it should happen. Because, and it doesn't have. Look, there are a range of models. You have to look at what the environment looks like. But I think that the reality is partnerships, collaboration. It seems it's a bit of a throwaway, but the reality is, we can't, as an entity, Sport Australia cannot operate effectively in this country without partners, and I don't think any sport entity can. If they think that they can stand alone and not work with others, then they won't be as successful as they could be. And there are lots of golf bodies. There are lots of, as I said, all of us have an interest. We all should be part of it.
We better let you go. Who's going to win the Don next Thursday night, Kate?
Oh, it's an amazing group, isn't it?
Good luck plucking one of those.
I know. Well, luckily I don't have to make the decision.
Oh, you're not
No, I don't. But it's the Sport Australia Hall of Fame. I think it's a great, iconic organisation, wonderful celebration of sport in this country.
Yeah, it is. Thanks for coming in and being part of our show.
Absolute pleasure.
Kate Palmer, CEO of Sport Australia, joining us as we continue to watch the evolution of One Golf, and great to get a sense from somebody who knows about this at a far broader level than we do of just how important it is. Stick around, more to come on Inside the Ropes after this.